And now is the moment that I believe is going to be fully agentic. So in the way that we call it operational web. And the web is designed to be operate, and human is the operator. And now we have another entity that can operate, but that entity does not need to eat and sleep, and it can multiply itself and live in the cloud virtualized. So it's definitely a totally new paradigm. And if you think of who cares about the web, everybody, from consumers to enterprise, we're like Google, like ClassPass. And the traditional rate limit is really how many people it can put behind the screen to operate, or how fast your dev team can create scripts and maintain them continuously. Now, all of that limitations are gone with web agents, and the one that really works. So we're really seeing a new world where the web is more accessible to human through AI. And agent becomes the biggest user of the web through the infrastructure like Mino.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Deployed. I'm joined today by Shuhao Zhang. He's co-founder and CPO at a company called TinyFish. By background, he's an engineering leader. Most recently, he was working at Meta, and he and his co-founders raised a big Series A from Iconic and other leading investors to build a platform for developers and enterprises to create agents that browse the web. It's like a whole new modality for LLMs. If you haven't thought about it yet in detail, there's a lot of complexity to get web agents to work well. There's also a huge opportunity. And in this conversation, Shuhao talks about what that opportunity looks like, some of the use cases and things that they're finding success with today for customers like Google, and what they've done to make reliable, trustworthy web agents, including on the eval and model training side, and just kind of the big picture of what the dynamics look like if you're building in this space. So if you've thought about building a web agent, maybe if you already are, you'll certainly learn a lot in this conversation. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening. All right, everybody. We're excited to talk to Shuhao Zhang today from TinyFish. Shuhao, introduce yourself. It'd be great for people to get to know who you are. What's TinyFish if they haven't heard of it? Just really excited to hear your story today and go deeper into what you guys are building.
Thank you, Ian. It's great to be here. My name is Shuhao, co-founder and CPO of TinyFish. We're a Series A company. We just announced and launched the company in August, close to 47 million, led by Iconic. We are specialized in enterprise web agents. Our goal is to build infrastructure so that enterprises and builders can create products with a web agent in it. And we handle the rest of the stack.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, for a lot of people that are listening, like they might be building or thinking about building web agents. So hopefully the conversation's, useful for them. Maybe they are even customers in the future. I know people are just going to be interested too to hear your story about how you've been building and what you're creating. So, people maybe heard of Agent QL, which is something you all built in the past, and we'll get to. But I know this is particularly like a fun day for you all. You've had a launch. You've introduced a new product called Mino. Tell us what's Mino about. Let's start there to just really anchor in what you all built.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're announcing Mino today is a full-fledged enterprise scale web agent platform. So what Mino does is it takes a prompt and will handle all the rest from reasoning to performing all the multi-step actions. We also have cloud browser infrastructure that we can scale, so we can run multiple tasks in parallel. And we also have benchmarking capabilities so that you can evaluate if your task instructions are effective. And we already have some early customers that are using Mino, and we can talk about later. But this is a product that we have tested with customers and really excited to release it today.
That's awesome. And I think you're going to show us a demo in a few minutes. So excited to see that. It'll help make it real for folks, especially if they're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll have to tune in. But we'll do our best to talk through it. I think before we crack that open, tell us a little bit about the journey. What's different with what you're launching today for people that knew Agent QL? How do the two fit together? Just be great to hear kind of, especially for folks that are getting, started with web agents. What are the different steps that led here and what's new?
TinyFish started with a vision that we will manage the things that, your work and lots of data, out of the life is on the web. So we'll manage all that so people can focus on what matters. And if you think of it, most of the our workforce, especially people in the enterprise, they are dealing with browser day after day, and most of the time spending on typing, clicking, getting job done. And with language model, the reasoning capability, the ability to follow instructions really changed the game. That we can finally let AI to drive most of the workflows. But there's a catch, and the concept is being around for a while. And for people who are listening, you're not unfamiliar with the concept of a browser agent. You see Atlas, you see other products, and it's really showing the promise. However, for enterprises, especially for mission critical tasks, what's really important is the ability, the consistency, the accuracy. You don't want to miss clicks, and also the ability to scale. You want to run your workload 24/7. So this is what the current product is about, Mino. And but it wasn't ready back then. So it's a journey that we evolved together with the industry, right? So you mentioned Agent QL. It's it's a semantic locator. So we kind of the language model back then, when we started, it's perfect for understanding a single page, and we solve a huge pain point of web automation, which is locating elements. XPath is brittle, so if you can use natural language to say, "Hey, I want a login button," and that's what Agent QL is about. However, you need to still create a script for a entire business logic. And that's where Mino kicks in, where you can just give a natural language prompt. It's going to handle the entire workflow with breaking down the steps and then consistently, accurately execute every step.
Sounds like magic. It's what everybody wants. Do you want to crack it open and show us? I think it would be awesome to hear you talk through some of the use cases. Like you mentioned, you're working with, different enterprise customers. Like part of the goal here has been making it easier to use and to do more complex things than were maybe possible with Agent QL. But yeah, it'd be awesome for you to just show us and, tell us what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm happy to show a demo. So yeah, this is the product. So Mino can
For everybody who's
handle.
listening, just real quick, because we will have people that are on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. Tell us as we look at it too. But yeah, so far we're
Okay,
looking at just like a
all right.
screen to get started and create a new web agent.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, Mino is a Mino has two offerings. One is the web portal web platform that you can come in and then create a task and our workloads. Also has an API offering. So for people who are listening, it's not showing here. But I will just demo the web portal. So here is the where you begin, right? So you can either start with quickly with a single query. This is the our playground where you can quickly try the agent and what it can do. So here's a quick example that you can say, hey, find USPS shipping cost, and you can run here. So it's all natural language. The agent will figure out the rest. And
I like how you've got like the browser session on the left and you can see what's happening on the screen, but you've also got the event series happening on the right. There's like function calls and responses happening. It's kind of a debugger view.
so, yeah, here's the browser that actually is streaming from the cloud. And again, we can run thousands of browsers in parallel for some customers. And we offer this capability to the users. And you can see the agents actually analyzing the page, entering the weight of the package, assuming it's 5 pounds. And then now you're seeing the entire price options. So this is just an example of you can really take one prompt and to kick off a entire workflow on the web. And I believe this is not new to the audience anymore. We have seen a lot of the similar products. And I will talk about a few things to make this special. Yeah. So first, the workload you just run, you can convert it into an API call. And next, we can even wrap it in a way that it becomes a nano agent just for checking shipping price. And
Interesting. So this is
this
basically just
concept of,
taking the query you put in the screen and just turning it straight into a API call you can run in your
yeah,
software.
you can use the playground to verify your workflow, to see if the prompt is effective, and if it is good, you can just copy paste the code into your product. So, and you can create a number of nano agents that you care about at scale here. And we'll also have MCP gateways so that you can put them into your chatbot. So you can ask your ChatGPT or Cloud to check, let's say, shipping price, and it's going to call in these nano agents you created.
And are these the kind of things like, this is a reasonable kind of one-off question I might ask as a consumer, but if you're talking about serving enterprise developers, that 5-pound box shipping to X location or whatever, like there's probably a bunch of variables that get injected there. Like, how do you handle that scale use case?
Yeah, that's a great example, a great question. So let me show a couple more demos that is going to answer that. And so the next one is a batch mode. It's exactly where you can have maybe the same task but different parameters, different target. So here we can say I want to know flight to London, and now you have a different URLs, even from Skyscanner, Kayak, and you can run all of the jobs in parallel. It's going to spin multiple browsers. It's all live, so you can see they're actually rendering, loading, navigating its way. And when we
Fun. For
talk
people
about
who can't see the screen, there's like 20 live cloud-based browser sessions kind of running in a
and you
pile.
can spin them. You can zoom into. It's going to take a while, but I can show you another demo in the meantime. So that kind of shows the scale. It's only 20 concurrent sessions I'm showing, but we have customers that are running thousands, tens of thousands of agent sessions in parallel. And this is one of them. So this is a view of we call the workbench, where I can show you the full view where, okay, so here is the workbench view that we use internally to serve our enterprise customers. And there's a lot going on in the screen, but I can walk through. So first, there's a concept of ground truth where you can actually set expected results. This can be the result that you manually go through the workflow yourself and then come back with. In this case, the customer is caring about the pricing for wellness services from the studios and the salons. And there are 30,000 of them, different websites, and most of them we never see ourselves, so we can hand off to agent to take care of. And then and after you can run in batch, you can actually run the entire 30,000 in just one click. And then if you run a subset of it, say there are 300 that we evaluate, and then here is the quick way to see the success rate, how accurate agents are against the human result. So this will give you the confidence of I can trust the result from the agents. I can run the entire batch, and this will take a few hours to complete the entire 30,000 results.
And that, so what's the use case here? If you've got a 30,000 result ground truth, and you're going to, evaluate whether the agent is behaving, you had a few hundred examples there. Is that like kind of a common sampling rate, or is this just you haven't run the full 30,000 yet? But what would a customer be doing when they're trying to run that ground truth and validate those examples?
Yeah, it's a great question. So this is where we are envisioning how enterprise will start to adopt web agents. The biggest challenge is trust. So today, they're solving their problem in some way. Conventional vendors, internal development team, or offshore, fully manual. Right? In any case, they will have some existing data that they compare against. And when you adopt a web agent to say, hey, it's going to take care of my workload. In this case, it's our customer ClassPass, where the member of ClassPass will see the pricing, and the accuracy matters. So they definitely want to make sure that the new technology they adopt will at least there's no regression of the existing one. So the concept of benchmarking is you can choose the set of data that you trust and run against the agents. So, and we kind of have this out-of-the-box platform that you can easily compare. You can write your custom eval function if your output is more complex. And then uh, you can decide how many you want to go, right? You want to compare and you want to evaluate before you fully gain the trust, and then uh, migrate entirely to web agent.
Got it. And so that example, maybe if I'm understanding right, you had 30,000 some examples in a ground truth of price data. And I might come as a business and say, hey, these are all verifiable prices that I know, should be accurate. I want to try and tune my agent until it's, hitting a success rate that I'm comfortable with against this ground truth. Now set it loose on hundreds of thousands or millions of queries, go wild across the web, right? This is our benchmark that we're working off of.
Exactly. The entire data set is way more than 30,000. And another example is we work with Google. You probably have seen on our website, right? So
It's not a bad logo to have as a startup. Congrats.
thank you. And it's actually a use case that we feel right to our heart because we help the hotels in Japan. And it's amazing that almost half of the hotels in Japan are not connected to any system. So the only way that to get their inventory, the room pricing is going through the full booking process on their website.
On their
And
first
these
party
are
website.
yeah, and these are websites are created very differently. There are tens of thousands of them. So, and the name TinyFish is really to empower the tiny fish that does not have the resource to build their own system, booking system, and everything, and integrate it into Google and other systems. And so, what our origin does is we continuously mimicking the booking process so that we know the up-to-date room pricing and inventory, and the data will show up as users search hotels in Japan and on Google. So the video that you see on our website is a 8-room hotel, it's very boutique. And after a few months, we talked to the owner again, and their business actually grew by 40% because without Tiny Fish, people have to call them for price and availability. Now they can just directly see that from the search results.
I mean, that story for the hotel makes sense. Like, so your customer in this case is Google, and you're basically, instead of crawling or offshoring and having someone manually go gather this data, TinyFish is pulling that data set together and delivering it to them on a, consistent basis to refresh.
Yeah, that's correct. And then on top of that, there is a well-established QA process from Google, and our results are evaluated by the QA team. And there's a certain SLA we have to hit to get paid. So all these engagement with the early enterprise customers push the limit for our agent technology. So we feel really confident that as we release, so that builders, entrepreneurs, and enterprises can build similar solutions on the same technology that we're using.
All right. Well, I think we're probably getting like, good examples like, price gathering and like these sorts of use cases where you can imagine as a business, I'd want to do that at scale. Um, I mean, tell me more about just like big picture, how you think about this broader problem space of, web agents, right? Like, I'm sure you as a founder, you weren't just thinking about how do we gather price data at scale for hotels. Like, what's the bigger story that you see happening here?
Yeah, so what we're really seeing is the web has been around for decades, and it's gone through some iterations. There's a Web 2.0, there's a mobile web, and there's a wave that businesses move on to the web and the government, everything. And now is the moment that I believe is going to be fully agentic. So in the way that we call it operational web, and the web is designed for to be operate, and human is the operator. And now we have another entity that can operate, but that entity does not need to eat and sleep, and it can multiply itself and live in the cloud, virtualize. So it's definitely a totally new paradigm. And if you think of who cares about the web, everybody, from consumers to enterprise, we're like a Google, like ClassPass. And the traditional rate limit is really how many people it can put behind the screen to operate, or how fast your dev team can create scripts and maintain them continuously. Now, all of that limitations are gone with web agents, and the one that really works. And so we're really seeing a new world where the web is more accessible to human through AI, and agent becomes the biggest user of the web through the infrastructure like Mino.
I mean, I think a lot of people have thought about, kind of the hello world use cases, right? They've thought about what, they might do in a browser with Atlas or something, the classic demo, maybe you even started here, right? Was, oh, wow, I can book a flight uh, as a consumer. I don't know that as many people have probably thought yet about what you could do if you could search 100,000 web pages quickly, or, you know, explore 10,000 different uh, checkout flows simultaneously. Like, do you find people are still struggling to get their heads around what those use cases even could be? And like, what are the unlocks where you see people like suddenly really figure out a lot of ways to get value out of this stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ian. I think the conversations we had with enterprise customers, and these are execs in Fortune 500, and it's actually on their agenda. The the biggest unlock is really if you think of Atlas or any browser agent that can automate a task for you, but you're watching on the side, and it's not really it's gimmicks, right? It's not really saving a time or doing anything differently. But if you think of you virtually have thousands of intelligent worker that digital workers, and can manage the workflows that matters, either your top line or bottom line for your business, then the imagination starts to kick in. And we do see, after seeing the demos, after seeing how accurate and reliable Mino is, the customers start to show more use cases. Sometimes they give us a long list of uh, potential projects that can run on this. And the biggest challenge is skepticism, right? So what we have been doing is we quickly turn around with a POC and with the use cases. Sometimes I can run a demo on live with the use case, and building the confidence as we talk in the beginning, and then that becomes more of a full project and a deployment.
Yeah, the UI. I mean, when I think about the browser agent story and just kind of how the ecosystem has evolved, like it's been hard for people to wrap their heads around trusting an LLM even just to process a known piece of text that you send to it, right? People were worried, especially with earlier models, about hallucination. And then we get into like multimodality, and complexity expands in different directions, right? With images or video, even more so. Voice agents have their own challenge. Then you get to browser agent and you start to think about like, okay, there's all these, you know, similar issues, but basically every modality could come into play. There's a compounding set of accuracy challenges. There's like read write actions in the world. Like I just imagine a lot of the, set of things that cause people not to trust agents might be at the like outer edge with browser agents. I'm not sure if you feel that way. Like kind of what's your take on the just vibes in the market today in terms of people trusting web agents?
The issue is real, and especially if you're offloading workflows that really matter. The misclicks are very expensive. So there are, I think there are two ways to look at this. One is for workflows that if it works well at scale, then is a huge value. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't really impact the business. It's we're talking about new opportunities, expansions, and the public internet, right? So that's one, and that's usually a very easy onboard and transition. The second is really the workflows that really matters, like for example, ClassPass and Google Hotel. They're holding their reputation. It's their product, and then there's a process to build uh, and bridge the, the transition. Like they have on both sides, we have human QA, we have the agent running in parallel with the existing system for a while, and to the point where uh, we realize the customer will fully transition and even expand more use cases with us is they're seeing the agent performs even better because humans also have errors. And so it takes a while to build that confidence. Um, I can dive into more technical perspective, how we look at accuracy, consistency at a lower level, if we want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good to shift there, right? I think um, maybe even as a transition, right? You could talk about, you know, for a practical case, but just hearing you talk, I've had a recent conversation in mind. I was talking to this person that was the head of AI. They're at a big international fintech. And, they're one of your kind of BPO offshoring cases where, they've had people, they need to go look at regulatory data from governments around the world. And they're basically trying to pull out numbers. And you can imagine how this went. I'm sure like this is your world, but they had an internal engineering team basically write a spike. I don't think using Agent QL or some of the tools you're talking about, where they were basically just trying to take scraped data and extract it with an LLM. And he was kind of saying to me like, "What do we do?" The first pass ended up with near zero accuracy with their domain expert. Looking through the data. Um, how do you help a person in that situation, like both just understanding how to fix the problem, and then how do you actually, like, how does Minnow fix that problem? I'd be curious to hear how you'd respond to that challenge.
Yeah. So again, two parts. One is to pick the right problem to solve by web agents, and second is to really pick the how to evaluate the right solution. Right. So the first one is web agents is really good, at least for Mino, is multi-step, complex workflows where if you just have one page, you want to grab data from it, then you can just throw it into a language model and you're good.
Yep.
But for things that are more complex, then
That other
the
example
ROI,
I gave didn't, right? They even weren't. But yeah.
yeah, and the ROI is also higher because it's more expensive to create this script, even for a developer team and to maintain it. So that's where I think if you're the product manager, your business leaders, consider these use cases and see if it's there's the ROI is there to adopt a new technology. And the second is really to pick the web agent that works for your particular use cases, right? And there are benchmarks for web agents, and today's benchmark are saturated, and the solutions are designed to do perform well on these benchmarks. And the only benchmark you should trust is your own. And if you have, and it's not that expensive actually. So if you have an internal team, you put some time onto it, you can gather a couple hundred data points, and that's mostly other benchmarks have. And you can really compare different agent solutions, how well they perform for the actual what you really care about, and go with it.
Yeah, everyone's talking about start with, write your own eval. Like you're essentially describing that in this situation with whatever your task is, create your eval out of the gate. And then, you know, say you've got that, like you started to go down this path. I'd love to let you continue. But, what are the things that you have done technically to like really work on quality here and, make Minnow work better than some of the alternatives?
So we have a deep investment into two things. One is really the foundational stuff. How do we work with the infrastructure? You have the stable environments as the browser. You have the talk about the atomic models that just focus on small steps like click and type. Each action has a model behind it. So we can gather the data. It's easier to evaluate and gather data for these atomic steps and create a model that performs really well because the entire workflow is a series of these steps. So that's the foundational technology we heavily invest into and for the past year. And then the second part is really the eval. And what to eval really defines how well and where the agent performs better. And so when we choose the eval set, it's really we're thinking what kind of websites or workflows can break the web agent.
Yep.
And almost like choose the hard target to begin with. So internally, we have thousands of data sets that across social media, which nested comments. It's really confusing. We have the e-commerce. You have really long feed and a ton of content, huge context, and the hotel, and all of these really challenging sites that we put into our evaluation, and also the cases where we think is going where the agents will struggle.
I'm sure you're glad like Adobe Flash is gone. That wouldn't have been a fun world for this. Um, I mean, tell us more about like you're talking about kind of benchmarks being saturated uh, for agent, web agent use generally. It sounds like you're basically building like custom evals in your situation, but are you building these like per customer? Like how do you approach the eval problem to really feel like the same problem that manifests with all the benchmarks getting saturated? You're still kind of pushing the envelope internally.
Yeah, so we have a basic data sets. And the reason for that is we're really looking at web agent workflow as a set of uh, modular actions. Like calendar is one module, for example. And you think of it, a lot of the appointment booking, and there's always a calendar, and there are actually hundreds of different forms of calendar that different ways they can pick a date. So that's one particular eval set that we care about. So that's just one example, and there's others like form filling and uh, working with the map. So that's the basic set. And then, of course, when customers come in, the good thing about working with enterprise customers early is they come in with their own with their own eval set,
Yeah.
and we make sure uh, the basic capability of the agent work well for their data sets. If not, why? And always at a lower level, not just prompt or custom the way to work better, but also why the foundational modules are failing, and can we enrich the data sets to perform better in general.
So you have like, enterprise customers coming on board. They have some of their own eval sets. You're working with them to fill those things in and make sure that you've got good coverage. If I'm understanding right, like just for people listening, they're probably curious, but you have both like your eval sets around things like form filling and calendar use and the different types of calendars that exist on the internet. And then if I heard you right, you also have fine-tuned or trained, your own kind of purpose-built models, I assume with their own set of, optimizations for specific types of tool calls. But can you talk a little bit more about like what you've done on the model side to, you know, like maybe the question is if you start to find an issue in your evals, what are the steps you're taking to then go improve the performance?
Yeah, so we built infrastructure to first be able to replay a session really well with all the kind of reconstruct the entire condition situation the agent ran into. So it's um, an investment that allows us to collect high quality data. And we also have
Even
this
even as even as websites change, like you can still kind of replay in a reliable way.
yeah, it's like a time machine.
Yeah.
So when the agent finishes the session, that's it. No matter what the web changes later, we have the data captured. And because we believe the right way to iterate and improve AI system is through the data iteration, not through a custom patch, and that will never be enough, and it will always regress. So whenever we find something that the agent didn't perform well, we kind of go back to the very basic. Do we have Are we missing this kind of cases in our data sets, and can we and what kind of breadth it represents? Is it a set of issues like shadow DOM that we don't know how to handle now? And so that will allow us to not just fixing for one problem, but a set of problems.
Yep. And it sounds like when you're setting, you're fixing those problems, you're operating all the way to the level of at least fine tuning, purpose built models that are optimized for each step. Like you mentioned, you have a click model, which I just found interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to make sure there's no regression. And we actually started off back in the agent QL days where it's very specific to a particular improvement, and then we realize it may regress a different use case. So we kind of changed that approach when we built this full web agent, where every change we made in the system, it needs to just generally globally improve.
Yep. I mean, maybe like for the sake of folks listening, I think sometimes these conversations about quality optimization, like everybody's trying to figure it out, and it can also seem a little abstract. Is there any kind of story you could tell us about like something that's been really hard that you were able to overcome, and like just like walk us through what was the challenge and what did you actually like do to hill climb it and fix it?
Yeah, I think the well, the biggest challenge I would say is to build the infrastructure to replay agent session.
Yeah.
You have the out of box ones like Playwright Trace, where you have pretty much everything you need, but it's not enough for collecting we call it high resolution data set. And if you're down to the clicks, the type, and at that precise moment, what happens around that time, the network request, everything. So it took us quite a while, I would say, to build this infrastructure for. It's like a well, playground is overloaded, but it's like a playground for agents to do its thing, and everything is captured 360 degrees, and so that we can later annotate and collect the data.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
you
because
I mean
there's
that's
I think that it's difficult because there's nothing there that we can use. We have to kind of rebuild it ourselves.
yeah. And I think a lot of people are facing that, right? Like this whole space, you said it before, the data is really the key. You don't want to just be fixing problems with patching and a bunch of conditional rules. So you end up needing to be able to collect that data in the first place and build the flywheel around it to then make use of it. So you've built a lot of that instrumentation from the ground up.
Yes, and that's actually, and then the investment will yield long-term return. It's now we the reason that we can launch Mino with this quality and backed by the enterprise use cases and customers is because of that.
Yeah. And maybe that's a good opportunity. Like, tell us a bit more about the just general market landscape, the space that you're operating in. Like, for folks that are wrapping their heads around and listening to this and thinking about, like, oh, I might want to go, try to build some of this stuff. Like, why Minnow versus X, or like, kind of what are some of the other options, and where do you all really stand out?
Yeah, I think the today the web agent landscape still you have quality at different levels, and it's not yet like the language models today. You will have some models just good enough. You don't have to go for the highest, best model. For web agents, it's still not there yet. So for if you're choosing web agent, definitely as we talked before, evaluate and choose. So um, and we're happy to work with customers to do that. And also, where do you want to use web agent? I think this is where I believe it's we're just the beginning of it, and we believe web agent is perfect for long tail websites and then tasks, because for the big ones, it's like Amazon, or it's already pretty concentrated. You have a lot of solutions around it already. However, the real value is if you are an entrepreneur, you want to build a service. Say, hey, I want to automate appointment booking for different services. Your local service. If you live in New York and you can find the earliest available appointment DMV or different services, that's the long tail. You have to deal with uh, dozens, hundreds of different services websites, and that's the perfect place for web agent to kick in. You can we have an API offering. You can actually throw our MCP API into your cursor, your cloud code, and it's to create the experience for your product. So that's one. Yeah.
You mentioned that, like, it's kind of early still with web agents, and I'm sure you're spending time on the frontier problems, but What are some of those today? Like when you think about what's hard today in, December of 2025 that like needs to be solved to unlock the next big tranche of opportunities. What are the problems you're thinking about?
Yeah, so the biggest problem is still the just the intelligence in it, right? The what's available in the continuous models or the basic language model that drive the reasoning, drive the every interaction, and review the results, piece everything together for a long horizon task. That's
Yep.
still not bulletproof. So that's where the frameworks like Mino kicks in to either have your custom models or have different level of pre-post processing to ensure the task execution is accurate and consistent. And the industry will evolve maybe in a year time where the foundational models will get so good. But I believe then the bar will be higher. People will think of even more mission critical mission tasks on the web for agents to run. So there's always the space, the room for improvement for products like Mino and others.
Well, I wish you well as you go down that path. And I know a lot of people listening are probably gonna go check it out. Um, Maybe like I know we're getting close to time. I want to respect your time, but uh, I always ask this question, like for other people that are building in this space, as a founder, as a product and engineering leader, like what's like one key lesson or piece of advice that you'd give to people as they're getting started building a web agent?
It's resilience. And I would say uh, what Mino today is definitely not the first version, not the fifth design. It's we lose count. It's countless of experiments and trial and error, working closely with the customer, and really respect the actual value we can deliver. And this is the result. And there are countless of frustrations and unknowns, but as long as you stick around with your team and keep trying new things and push the limit, set a very high bar, then eventually you're going to make it. And I think this is not only for people who are building a web agent, for any. I think this is exciting time to start companies to build something really exciting. Is for all that my fellow founders, entrepreneurs in this space.
Yeah, truly. Well, I feel that as a founder too. Um, it's a good word of wisdom. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for talking about your launch as well. Congrats. Hope it goes well. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'll look forward to next time we talk. It's great to see you, Shuhao.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we have for today's episode of Deployed, the AI product podcast. I'm Ian Cairns, CEO and co-founder of FreePlay. I hope you enjoyed listening. And if you did, we'd love to hear about it. Your reviews mean a lot. They help other listeners. So give us a like, share, subscribe, wherever you're listening to this. And if something stood out to you in the episode, or if you've got feedback or ideas for a future episode, or if you simply just want to learn more we're up to at FreePlay, shoot me a note. I'm Ian at freeplay.ai. You can also find me on Twitter at Cairns. Thanks so much for listening.